As of yesterday, October 1st, the first two key figures appointed by Frederic Vasseur officially start their roles in Maranello. Loic Serra and Jerome D'Ambrosio met with their senior colleagues and likely, at a later moment, with the drivers, who are currently busy at the simulator and on track at Fiorano for training sessions with an older car specification. Charles Leclerc was driving yesterday before the triple header of races in Austin, Mexico and Brazil. Jerome D'Ambrosio, a Belgian former driver with extensive experience in F1 and especially in Formula E, became Toto Wolff's protégé and will now serve as Frederic Vasseur's deputy team principal, with a particular focus on the young drivers in the Maranello Academy. He will work alongside veteran engineer Jock Clear, who is on track with Charles Leclerc in a dual role. This presence is expected to enhance the Academy's efforts. Ferrari team principal Frederic Vasseur joked about hiring Jerome D'Ambrosio, pointing out that he needed someone who can say no to him, someone who can kick him when needed. For the Belgian, it's a great opportunity. He didn't think twice about it, having chosen to move back from the UK. The most anticipated figure debuting is French engineer Loic Serra, also a former Mercedes employee and specialist in suspension dynamics and overall car performance on track. His background is quite interesting, as he entered F1 in the 90s with Michelin during the fierce competition between the French tire manufacturer and Bridgestone. Together with his friend Pierre Wache, Adrien Newey's successor and the current technical director at Red Bull, he shared 10 years of experience between Michelin and Sauber. Loic Serra is the first signing of Ferrari's new cycle. While he is not a designer, he is a specialist who knows what it takes for a car to win. He had remained somewhat in the shadows compared to some generals from Brackley, but for him, Ferrari represents the most significant challenge of his career. Initially, he was supposed to work under Italian aerodynamicist and former Ferrari technical director Enrico Cardile. However, after the Italian engineer moved to Aston Martin, Loic Serra was promoted even before his arrival in Maranello. Unlike the 90s, today, attracting top names in Italy presents challenges, as the most famous designers are often under locked contracts. "We have talent and capability. We just need to address our weaknesses," Frederic Vasseur said, when reflecting on the analysis conducted at the factory. The arrival of the 52-year-old from Nancy is significant for understanding tire performance, one of Ferrari's weaknesses over the last 10 years. Typically, a new technical chief takes a year to make a noticeable impact, but in this case, quicker results are expected. Loic Serra will find a highly updated wind tunnel and the 677 model, the car Lewis will drive next year, in advanced stages, allowing him to work on the brand-new Formula 1 2026 cars in 3 months, while reuniting with Lewis Hamilton, with whom he has already won everything at Mercedes. Frederic Vasseur thus relinquishes the interim technical director role, which was an anomaly, although he has made important decisions during this time, including advancing developments. This correct choice paid off in the Italian Grand Prix at the Monza circuit, and could have yielded even more at the Singapore Grand Prix and the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. The SF24 is a good racing car. With 6 races left, the chances of contention are low, but it has not yet been ruled out of the Constructors' Championship. At the 4.94-kilometer Marina Bay Street circuit in Singapore, a new front wing for medium to high downforce was showcased, which will form the basis for the 2025 car. Despite a relatively high carryover, which means that several elements and parts will also be the same as this year, the new Ferrari single-seater will feature an aerodynamics package that is described in the Maranello corridors as radically different, along with completely revamped suspension systems to handle greater downforce. The top Formula One teams have a technical director who is very present on track. Adrien Newey has stated he will continue to operate this way even after moving to Aston Martin. The last Ferrari technical director with a similar presence was James Allison, now responsible for Mercedes. However, it's true that the number of GPs has dramatically increased, making a constant presence challenging to ensure. Remote technology and artificial intelligence help mitigate this issue, but it would be beneficial to consider greater involvement in track activities. Winning teams adopt this model, leading to more effective interventions at the factory. The question remains, how long will it take Loic Serra to integrate? For Frederic Vasseur, with the horizontal organization, in the end, you always need someone to make decisions. Yet, the French team principal has realized that making an impact in a giant setup like Maranello requires a lot of patience and, above all, a careful approach. Ferrari targets the title every year, but as the famous Italian team teeters on the cusp of a 16th straight season without a championship success, a simple question for Charles Leclerc in a recent interview was whether he truly believed that target was realistic next time round. A slightly awkward moment of silence followed before Leclerc laughed and, correctly, predicted the answer would form the lead quote in many articles. But it's the reasoning as to why Charles Leclerc thinks Ferrari is on the brink of a breakthrough, not so much the quote itself, that is most interesting, especially as the stakes are set to rise even higher next year, with the arrival of seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton as his teammate. Since the Monegasque driver started at Ferrari in 2019, the closest he's come to a championship was 2022, when he started the year in strong form but lost momentum by mid-season. As Ferrari faltered and became stuck in a development cul-de-sac, Max Verstappen and Red Bull emerged as the sport's dominant force and swept to comfortable victories in both drivers' and constructors' championships. The 2023 season saw Max Verstappen double down on his dominance, while Leclerc, along with the vast majority of the F1 grid, failed to win a race. At the start of this season, the green shoots of recovery started to emerge at Maranello, but so far have only blossomed into 3 victories, with teammate Carlos Sainz's win in Australia preceding Charles Leclerc's victories in Monaco and Monza. Meanwhile, rivals McLaren have leapfrogged Ferrari to become Red Bull's biggest threat. Lando Norris, and not Charles Leclerc, is unfortunately now hunting down Max Verstappen's lead in the Drivers' Championship with 6 races remaining. At the root of Charles Leclerc's optimism is team principal Frederic Vasseur. The Frenchman was Charles Leclerc's team principal when he made his Formula One debut with Sauber in 2018, and they joined forces again when Frederic Vasseur was appointed as Mattia Binotto's successor, following the disappointment of Ferrari's 2022 season. It was always unlikely the Maranello team would challenge for titles immediately in 2023, but the Monegasque driver believes progress during that season laid the foundations for what is to come for the Italian side. He applauds Frederic Vasseur's reluctance to make sweeping changes and instead focus on the small tweaks that can result in big gains in the near future. Charles Leclerc now believes the path is clearly set for consistent progress, which he hopes can outstrip that of rivals McLaren, Red Bull, and Mercedes. One certainty for the 2025 Formula One Championship is that the Monegasque will have to beat the most successful driver of all time in the same car if he is to have a chance of winning the title. At the start of the year, Ferrari shocked the F1 world by announcing Lewis Hamilton would leave Mercedes and join Charles Leclerc from 2025 on a multi-year deal. While Charles Leclerc's single-lap performance and increasingly impressive racecraft promises to rival that of his incoming Maranello teammate, there is no shying from the fact that he is currently a 7-time race winner, and Lewis Hamilton is a 7-time Formula One world champion.